Don't call me Doodle.
Yeah, you got it.
And today we're actually going to be focusing on the topic of family relations within MLP in the show, and how they've developed over the seasons and how they've affected in real life. And I've come up with a few questions to get things going for the first 15 minutes or so, but then we're going to be opening up for audience Q&A. But just to get things rolling, if we could maybe get some of you to answer, has there ever been a role in My Little Pony or otherwise where you could draw upon personal familial experience and convey that through a character you've portrayed?
Oh, I don't know about a character that I portrayed, but that really makes me think of Fluttershy's brother, who is actually my brother. Man, bun included. Same person. So when that character came up and I read that script, I was just going, oh, this reminds me of Dan.
Okay. All right. The relationship actually between Pinkie Pie and Maud isn't exactly like how my sister and I are, but we are extremely different. For example, she's 6'3" and is kind of more of a brain. She's a medical doctor. I'm really proud of her. She's amazing. And I'm kind of more like Pinkie Pie, kind of hyper and always bouncing off the walls. So yeah.
I guess for me, the Ashley's character, and I just, that whole sort of, talking like this, something. I used to do that as a kid in the mirror. So I don't know. I don't have anyone that it reminds me of other than myself as a kid.
I guess to answer that question, I play Franklin the Turtle's father, and when I was first auditioned for that role, I was in Toronto doing a play, and they called me in to do this thing, and I, of course, didn't at that point have any idea what the character was going to be. And I'd never done a nice guy. I get, most of the guys I do say things like, do not fail me. So they called me in to play this little turtle's father, and I go, I don't know what I'm going to do here. So I pretended that I was talking to my then 12-month-old baby girl, and wound up getting the gig, which then went on forever. So having a family can actually be remunerative, so I suggest it.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Now, with so many episodes of My Little Pony focused on family relations, I'm sure many of us are curious whether any of you have any brothers and or sisters, and are you the oldest or youngest, or maybe somewhere in the middle?
I'm the oldest, which, if you know me, it's very obvious because I'm super bossy. And I have a younger brother. He's 2.5 years younger. And just picture Fluttershy's brother. What's his name?
Zephyr Breeze.
Yeah, Zephyr Breeze. And that's pretty much him. He's great. He's like very easy. Like, I think of myself as more like A-type, and he's more laid back and easygoing and super personable and just kind of like let it go. And I'm like, so he's better than me.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I have the one sister who is taller, 6'3", but I will always be older. I am 3 years older than her, so there. Yeah, and in terms of, like personality types, I already talked about that. Moving on.
I am the baby. I have an older sister, just the two of us. She is a year and 4 months older, and when we were growing up, we looked like twins for a short while where people couldn't tell us apart, and I was kind of known as Pat Bren, or if I went by Bren Pat, depending on who was calling our names. And then I stretched out just a little bit, and my sister stayed like my mom, a little more petite. I didn't get that much taller, just maybe about a head taller. I'm the more extroverted one, shall we say. My sister's a little more quiet. But we used to dance and do all that, but I was the annoying little sister who was always in her room. Always. I don't know why that was, but I was always in her room. She used to have to try to throw me out of her room. Her rooms were across the hall, and we shared a room at one point, but I used to always make my way into her room and just go like, and she'd be like, get out. I don't know what, and I see it now. I have 2 kids, and I see it now with them, and I was just that annoying kid. I'm better now.
I shared a bedroom when I was growing up with a younger and an older brother, so I envy you your own room. That must have been fun. My sister had her own room. I never understood that. But yes, I had an older brother. I still have a younger brother and sister. And there's 10 years between the oldest and the youngest.
Wow.
So very, very different. All of them still living somewhere around the States. But we're pretty friendly. We talk every week.
Oh, that's nice.
We have a family Sunday Skype.
Aww.
Which
That's cool.
It's like when I was growing up, especially when I first left home to kind of pursue this crazy thing that we do, it was like my folks were constantly bugging, write a letter, because in those days people wrote letters. And I would say to them, so when you get a letter from me, you know that I was alive 2 weeks ago. So I really enjoyed this Star Trek thing where I can actually call my daughter who lives in New York and look at her when I talk to her. It's like technology is marvelous.
Indeed. All right. Well, this question is more for Andrea. We've heard you talk about Fluttershy and her brother, but how do you think Pinkie felt growing up the odd one out of all of her sisters?
I think Pinkie, the great thing about her is she is so positive and nothing ever bothers her. So I think growing up maybe was a little bit tough on her because she didn't fit in. But then as soon as she finds herself, like she still remembers that part of her and where she comes from, but she's like that fun all the time!
Yeah.
And as a bit of a follow-up, how do you think the Pie family reacted to Pinkie moving so far away from the farm?
Yeah, I don't know, probably not good. What do you think, Maud?
We missed you very much. That's why I moved to Ponyville adjacent.
You gotta do what you gotta do! All your dreams! Cupcakes!
All right. Well, a long while back, we as a community went through about 9 months of turmoil in the fandom over the announcement of Alicorn Twilight Sparkle and the eventual reveal of what the staff had in mind for her character. But my question is, what's the greatest investment that you've ever witnessed a fandom place on a character? And this isn't just for My Little Pony, but any of the shows that you've taken part in over the decades.
What do you mean?
Well, let's see. The greatest amount of passion that you've seen a fandom place on a character that you've been a part of, or that in a show that you've been a part of.
Well, I think what's pretty magical about this fandom is that there is a huge amount of investment in all of the characters, and we see that when we come to these conventions and we interact with you. And there's just some really special moments that I've had, and I'm sure we all have, where you meet someone and they tell you how much Pinkie Pie means to them. I've had so many people tell me how much Pinkie Pie makes them smile and they've been feeling really down. Pinkie Pie lifts their spirits and is someone that's really, really special to them. So that's amazing. I love hearing that. It makes, it's the best feeling in the world to know that your work has impacted somebody's life for the better. And a lot of people relate to Fluttershy. They've never seen a character on TV that's shy before. It really doesn't happen because, everyone's kind of out there and extroverted. So to see that introverted, and I think especially in the animated world, to have a voice that's so soft. I mean, when I started that voice, we had to, work on it with, technically, just to, make the microphone be able to pick it up. We have, yeah, it's true, all these different kind of things that we did. So, I think it's, it's the most rewarding and fulfilling aspect of what we do is to be able to meet you guys and learn about what it means to you. So,
I think one of the greatest pleasures has been when we've attended the auctions and we've done some fundraising. And to see a signed portrait, to see a giveaway of some kind, and for it to go to a great cause and to be a part of that there are no words. It's such an honor to know that as a community, everyone has come together to raise funds and to spotlight a particular charity. And we know that it's going directly to this charity, and we've all been there to support it, as has this incredible community. So I think that in itself is one of the most rewarding things, as well as what Andrea was saying. What our characters have brought to you, and then what you've brought back to us. We go into the studio and we record words that are written by our incredible writers and directed by our fabulous directors, but to have a listening audience and to know that the words we are saying are having an impact on somebody's life is humbling. And when you come up to us and you tell us your personal stories, I know sometimes we only get a few minutes with each person, it's awe-inspiring. Awe-inspiring. And for my characters, of course, she's different. We don't know a lot about her. There's a lot of mystery there. Mm-hmm. And we don't know about her family. Mm-hmm. We just know that she's had to stand tall and, well, impart her wisdom with some confidence and allow people to not judge, but get to know her. And there's some good there. So all of that, I think, in one big fell swoop is what's impactful and rewarding.
Most of the conventions that I've been to prior to this have been Transformers conventions. And my younger brother was part of the 1950s polio. He got polio when he was 3 years old. So he's lived in a wheelchair for the past 6 decades, and he dreams that he runs. But he hasn't run since he was 3 years old. When I went to my first Transformers convention and saw the number of people who showed up in wheelchairs with physical challenges, and I realized that not only were we doing this cartoon show, but we were actually giving people a dream. And I get choked up when I talk about it because it still affects me because of my personal situation with my brother. So there are ways in which we do this thing because we love to do it. And we want to do the best work we can. And I think it takes us by surprise when we realize how impactful the work has been.
Thank you very much for that.
This is such a polite audience. A royal clap. Is the royal wedding? Yeah?
Yeah. Well, going back to questions about family relations, now you may not be too familiar with episodes that came out so long ago that you voiced for, but this is for the donkey couple. The episode...
Oh, all right. Okay.
What do you want?
I just thought I'd give you some sugar, honey.
Brenda and I have known each other for what, 30 years now? We did a production of Three Penny Opera back in 1985, which is, I think, when we met.
Yes,
so,
don't say the date. Oh my God! I'm gonna feel like an animated piece of petrified wood. Lord have mercy on my soul.
You're gonna stop inviting me to these things. I'm just so uncool.
We met. I was still in theater school, and some of us get to apprentice, and 2 of us were picked to go to the Fire Hall Art Center and apprentice there for a run and rehearsal of Three Penny Opera. So I got to meet this fabulous man, and he took me under his wing. In fact, we have a picture somewhere. We'll see if we can post it somehow.
Right. Yes, I found it today.
Throwback pictures. Not throwback pictures, but we'll post it. Yeah.
Back when my hair was dark and there was some of it. I did have a full
Great.
beard, yes.
I learned lots from you. I remember I was a little nervous.
Oh my gosh, really?
I'm not professionals. I didn't feel like I was a professional yet.
I guess. It's interesting because, of course, we're constantly working with people of different ages, right? You're working with older people, younger people, kids, and everybody's a pro. You know, you show up at the first day of rehearsal, and everybody basically is in the room, and we're all one person. So I never really think about how much experience somebody's had, or if I've had more than somebody else. It's just we're all part of this family trying to create this thing.
Yeah, well, we didn't know what to expect. We were brand new, and it was Michael and I. And we were like,
Right, Michael Gall.
whew. But everyone mentored us, and then we found our footing and confidence with you and Babs, and it was a fabulous run. Great experience. Just like you. That's how you and I met. You know what? I think we commandeered your...
Oh, that's entirely okay.
I went off on a tangent here.
My purpose in being here is just to get you guys to go into an interesting discussion, and hey, if I do that unintentionally.
Well, that's how Richard and I met, and then Andrea and I met when we were doing a cartoon called Madeline.
Oh, yeah.
Madeline.
And I had to sing I was guesting on the show, and I had to sing this title song. Somebody there who's really quick with technology can find it, I'm sure. But I had to sing this big song with this big boom voice, and we had this director who wanted me to just belt it to the back row, and I probably lost my voice, I think, by the day's end. But on one of the mornings, and it was early, it was about 8:39, we now have to add the harmony to the show, and in walks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you, thereabouts?
Yeah.
These little girls came in with these little voices, and I was going, oh, aren't they cute? And then they belted out the harmony, 5-point harmony, people. Okay, layered it, everything. My kudos, at that point, I had the jaw drop of like, girlfriend can sing. She can
You know what? I was
out.
thinking about that actually this week because I had a 9 o'clock singing session this week, which is really no singer's favorite. And I remember, but we always used to do that for Madeline. I remember the composer saying when I was a little girl, you should be able to sing at any time of the day. Like,
God.
you know, he was like, there's no excuse, we're starting at 9 and you should be able to do it. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I remember other people saying, oh yeah, an early singing session. I'm like, oh, that is tough. Is it? It's allowed to be tough?
It's tough. It's ridiculous. But really and truly, listen to yourselves. Who sounds like fabulous at 8, 9 in the morning?
No.
It takes me a while. We have to work and warm our voices up. Because honestly, I sound like Zachora. I wake up and I got the glottal stop. I'm like, hey, morning, hi, blah. But you have to be on top of your voice and be able to belt and talk like this first thing in the morning, and you're not quite awake yet.
It's tough.
But you have to be. You have to put the P in professionalism and be ready to go. Because when they say and. You gotta just give her.
And 5-point harmony, 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. She was a baby. Yeah, there's some long history with all of us in the studios and stuff, but you know, this girlfriend, well, you know, I need to give her some love over here too. But yeah, that's our history.
History. You had a question?
I
The
did
question
have a
was,
question.
how do you all know? When did you first meet? Right? No.
Actually, I was going to be asking about season 2 episode, A Friend Indeed, that was all about the donkey couple. Getting together so late in their life is not considered usual. Do you think that they were pressured to find someone else before they were able to find each other again? How do you think that affected their resolve?
Well, Cranky, of course, Cranky. Not going to be pressured by anybody to do anything. I think he just wandered. But you know, the neat thing about Cranky, when you first see him, he's carrying this cart behind him. So he's obviously a traveling salesman. He's an itinerant peddler. And through his friendship with Pinkie, he is able to go back to college and become a teacher. was I showed up at studio one day and suddenly I was a teacher. And I figure it has to be because of the positive stuff that happened through our friendship.
That is the
He
only
encouraged me to go back
logical
to school.
conclusion, is that I didn't.
And Matilda must have been the woman, supporting him all the way.
That's
'cause,
right. The women in my
You
life.
had to have been there to make sure that happened.
Well, how do you suppose Matilda felt waiting so long for Frank to find her?
Oh, I think Matilda was just biding her time, knowing her prince was going to come. I think she just kept herself busy. Yeah.
Waiting for the rain to come.
Well, we've actually been going for about 25 minutes, so
Whoa.
maybe it's about time that we open up for audience Q&A. And I think there is a microphone set up in front for that specific purpose, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think we need to set up a line of people who wanted to ask questions, and we can start from there.
Also, a friend of mine that we
Wow.
gotta have children first for this.
When you're in theater school, you have to jump up when our artistic director says, okay, I need a volunteer. So as soon as you said Mike, everyone just like, that's good. When I teach my acting classes, I always say, okay, I need someone to come up, and I expect someone to just jump up military style. Nice to see that the lineup's already formed. That just shows you're ready to go.
Any children wanting to ask questions that are currently in line?
Start with maybe the younger kids first. Anyone in here? No?
No?
All right then.
Hello, my name is Josh.
Josh? Hi, Josh.
If your characters were to run for office, like political office, what would their catchphrase be?
Oh, jeez.
Pinkie for president!
I'm for it. Yeah.
I'll do a better job!
They will.
No? Can I make those jokes? No, right? No. Fluttershy, do what you want, I guess.
Maybe Maud. I give my support to Pinkie for president. She rocks.
Thanks, Mud! Cupcakes for every pony!
Take a second look.
It's in a book.
Good. Strong.
Second look.
You mind your business, I'll mind mine.
Great question.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Patrick.
Hi, Jack.
Alright, my question for Andrea and Ingrid is, when you two play multiple roles, like for instance, like Pinkie and Fluttershy, as well as the Pie Sisters, were there any obstacles that you two faced, like during your auditions? If so, what did you do to overcome those fears?
So for me, it was a really big deal actually. I'd played incidental roles, so like characters that would have a guest on an episode with 1 or 2 lines, but I'd never had 2 main characters before. So when I auditioned for the roles, I didn't plan it that way. I just kind of did what I thought Pinkie Pie would be and what I thought Fluttershy would be, and they were probably both pretty close to my natural voice. And then they had the idea, they're like, well, maybe she could do both. So they brought me in, and then we had this whole process. And it wasn't scary or anything at all. It was really collaborative. It's like, can we make this work? Try this. Like, what if Pinkie Pie was even higher pitched, right? Everyone loves that.
Oh, God.
And, what if Fluttershy was even more breathy and more airy? So it was. I worked really closely with Terry, our voice director, to really see if it would work to separate them, and I think we did a pretty good job.
Okay, so I have a quick question. When you got did you get a picture of Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie? Do you remember?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and then did you come in with your idea that, okay, I'll kind of come in with her sounding like this?
Well, it was really easy because there was about half a page paragraph for each of those main 6 characters that Lauren Faust had created, and they were incredibly descriptive. So Pinkie Pie is high-pitched, fast-paced, loves parties, fun, just like all those things. And then same with Fluttershy, really soft voice, really shy. So there was so much to go on. Like I really felt like I knew what she wanted. Like so, and it just clicked for me. Yeah, great descriptions. A lot of what we are, at least in my experience these days, I feel like a lot of times when I'm auditioning, I'm just throwing out like a wild guess. Do you guys feel that way?
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, here's it's me, 6-year-old girl, whatever, she's the girl. Maybe some weird voice reference that doesn't make any sense, like someone from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You're like, they're older than 6.
You just hope you made a strong enough choice that they'll consider you.
Yeah.
And then when you go into the studio, I guess what my question was is, you had to be collaborative.
Yes.
Yeah. So your idea originally, you come in like this, and then sometimes it gets molded like that.
Yeah. Personally, that's my favorite thing. I love working with someone else, and I like following direction. Yeah. I don't like guessing.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I have a question for Andrea.
Oh, okay.
So I know that Shannon Chan Kent does the singing voice for Pinkie Pie, but has there ever been any instances where you did the singing voice for Pinkie Pie, and why haven't you done the singing voice for Pinkie Pie?
Yeah, so sometimes it's me, most of the time it's her. She's a phenomenal singer and she just does an amazing job. And then the odd time, like if she's not available or for whatever reasons, we just kind of do what production tells us. So sometimes I'll do it, like if it's something very character-y, then they'll get me to do it, is what I've heard. But mostly it's her.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Alex. This is for Andrea and Ingrid. I was wondering, how did the Pie sisters develop their own personalities growing up?
Well, I think it's just how did the develop? Yeah, I think it's just like in any family. Sometimes you wonder how 2 people could come from the same family. We were kind of talking about that earlier with our own families. Me and my brother are very different too. Like I said, he's a lot nicer and better looking.
And I think the family kind of balances itself out because Limestone's kind of the bossy dictator and will tell you what to do. And then probably Marvel and Maud will do it. And Pinkie will probably just bring everyone cupcakes. So it all balances out.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So, my question's for Andrea, and it's actually a non-polling question. It's about a show that I grew up with that you did a long time ago called Dragon Tales.
Oh, Dragon Tales.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I'd like to thank you for being part of my childhood with that. So, anyhow, we were talking about family earlier, and you mentioned how you were sort of the alpha sister, and that sort of reminded me of how Emmy was the older sister to Max, so I was wondering if back when you were doing that show a long time ago, you sort of related to her in that way because she could be a bit bossy at times as well.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And even just being in the studio as a kid. So I think I was a teen when I was doing that show. We did it for a long time, but maybe I started when I was 12-ish, 13 maybe. Wow. And I remember being a teenager throughout. And then Danny McKinnon played my younger brother, and he was just like an adorable little blonde, and he was just like reminding me exactly of my brother, and we just stood next to each other, and I would always help him because he was really young when we started, and I'd turn his pages for him, and then when he had to laugh, I would tickle him in the studio. So we had such a great time together, and I definitely also bossed him around. Couldn't help myself.
All right, then, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm John. And similar to what Dr. Wolf was saying, but kind of in reverse, he asked if there was any time that your personal life influenced your work on the show. I have a question of, I'm not certain how much you keep track with the show, how many episodes you watch, but was there ever an episode or even just some lines that you were recording that hit you in some way, reminded you of some personal experience that spoke to you in a certain manner?
I had a birthday. Oh yeah, is that a question for everyone?
It's for everyone.
Okay, thanks. Recently, I celebrated my birthday, and my friend loves My Little Pony, but hadn't watched the episode. But he gave me a geode.
Amazing.
Yeah, and these sticks, sticks that you burn. Anyway, it was really one of those synchronistic things. And then we recently broke open the geode and had this little ceremony, and it was really sweet. So I guess in that sense, the show influenced my life inadvertently. But I like the geode. That there's often players or the internal characteristics of a person that are really beautiful.
Players are like onions.
What?
Hey.
I was 49 when my daughter was born, and I had very little experience with kids. And then I got Franklin, and I really believe that Mr. Turtle made me a better dad. So there you go. Very patient fella. The idea of, the turtle parents, who basically let the kid go off and do what he does, and don't hurt himself. But, experiment, figure it out, solve your problem. Oh, that didn't work? Okay, what else do you think you might try? The sense of independence he gave and the support. So, like I say, I think playing Mr. Turtle made me a better dad.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Did Franklin win the Emmy a bunch of times? Is that right? Did that series win the Emmy? You know?
No.
You don't know?
It might have.
I don't remember.
Maybe not to award shows.
No.
Hey everyone, I'm Cooper, full name. This goes out to all of you. You guys are all voice actors. You've done work across several shows, and it's got to be a fun job, I'm sure. But I'm wondering if, while you're recording lines for any of the shows, did you laugh mid-take because it was so funny? And, if so, is there any line or scene in the shows you've done that, you just thought were hilarious?
That we just what? I didn't hear
That we thought were hilarious.
Is there any favorite parts from My Little Pony or, Dragon Tales that just...
Yeah.
Okay. What was the episode where your tongue got all...
Oh, the poison joke.
Yeah.
Bridal gossip.
Okay, bridal gossip. There you go. I will say, for me, that was hilarious watching Andrea make her way through that. They also had to switch characters with Blue, I believe. But
Yeah,
just
that's
watching her
right. That was so
spit.
funny too.
So yeah, it's hard to keep focused sometimes, and we have to do a couple of takes here or there. We try to maintain professionalism because of the timing, but it's pretty well impossible when you watch someone's face contorts.
Yeah.
And
It's quite often you're holding it, and as soon as the take is over, the room explodes in laughter. There's an episode of Transformers called The Long Road. I don't know if you guys are Transformers fans, but the character that I played was a character called Rhinox.
Rescue bots.
And in The Long Road, Rhinox eats something that then gives him super gas. And he's blowing holes in the control room of the kind of underground cavern that they hide. That was one of the funnest episodes I ever got to do because the character is so straight. And then all of a sudden he's silly. And that's the best thing in the world for an actor is to take a character and just turn it on its head. So that was quite a lot of fun.
People who I always laugh when they're in the studio, Tabitha, of course. She's just, I wonder how she comes up with, a lot of the time she's ad-libbing and you don't even know how she cooks up this stuff.
She was killing me this week. We were doing something, and
Look, a moose.
And and she was reading in a character. Someone wasn't there, and she was just doing this hysterical voice. It was like an old British lady, but very pompous. And she was just sitting on the floor behind me. So I was doing my lines, and then she was reading it. So just really fast, off the cuff, not even on mic, and it was just so funny. And I had to perform, I had to go on, and like every once in a while I'd go to do my line, I go, and then I would do it and that kind of thing, and then by the end of the day, she just like took it to the next level because she knew she was getting to me, and then she just took it to the next level, and then I was done. I was on the ground, and I was just like rolling, laughing, and everyone's like, Andrea's broken. Can't go on. So, yes.
All right, thank you. My name is Isaac. Thank you all for being here. This is for the table. Have you guys ever found that characters you've portrayed or voice acted or anything like that as throughout your entire career, have you ever found that their mannerisms or personality traits have leaked into your personal lives?
Leaked in, yeah. I think that I'm composed of every character I've ever played. Little bits of them, yes. They're little bits of everybody that I've ever portrayed on stage or on film or in cartoon land. Just there's things that sink into your head, and years later you go, oh my God, that's Mr. Turtle. Go away! Yeah, it quite often happens. It does. We're a bunch of schizophrenics.
I would say in my personal life, I've tried to follow one little motto. Some of you may have heard it. I know all my counterparts have at some point. I don't know who wrote this, but to me, it also encompasses Zecora. And it goes something like this. Always endeavor to come from a place of grace, integrity, and respect. Because that way you can speak your truth and make no apology. I don't know who wrote it. It's great, isn't it? You can cheer. Just I try to remember that because I like people. I like my job. I like my place in this world, and sometimes we have a temper that can come up in certain situations. We're all not that nice when it comes to our kids when we have some things to say. It's like, stop that. So I try to remember to always be as graceful as I can under pressure. Doesn't always work, but I do try. And I think my character under pressure, for the most part, tries to be very gracious and impart her wisdom and her integrity. And she has respect for all the other ponies and respect for what she does. So I think there's a little bit of both in there, and I'm honored and thrilled to be able to play a character like that.
I love that. I'm gonna use that. Really. I actually had a callback for a fast food restaurant. I can't say which one yesterday, and they were like, "We want it more flat, more flat." And I was like, "Is this flat enough for you?"
That's perfect. It's mod.
Like, little too flat.
Amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of times we think of voice acting as kind of just silly voices, but I think it's more than that. It really is acting. And to me, acting is finding some part of yourself and putting that into the character. I think that's what tells the best story, even if it is through your voice, and then it's going to be brought to life through animation. So I think all of our characters, like Richard said, are parts of us. I try and keep my Pinkie Pie in check. So you're welcome.
Thank you. Try to keep Pinkie in check too, but it doesn't work very well.
Hi, my name's John, and I'm for Ingrid and Andrea. Both of you voice ponies who we've only heard vocalizations with, specifically Flutterbat and Marble. Now, if this is not a look-a-moose question, have you thought about what their real voices would be like if they had speaking lines?
Whoa. Because Flutterbat just went like, right?
She also laughed in Scaremaster. I wish I impersonated her laughing.
I think, but Flutterbat is a form of Fluttershy.
Right.
But you think she would have a different voice than Fluttershy? Well, I don't think I got paid extra for this.
Given the Flutterbat voice that Fluttershy used, I think she might have a different tone or something in her voice. Boy.
Maybe it'd be really scary, like, I'm the Flutterbat! Maybe like a Transylvanian accent. That'd be good. I shouldn't talk about this. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I don't. Can Marvel even talk?
I thought you were in the episode with the geode.
Right.
No, that's
Oh, she kind of just still went.
Mind Stone.
To be honest, I didn't even know that I was Marvel until I was in the studio and we were recording and her line came up and everyone looked at me and I went, So, yeah, I think that she and Fluttershy would make great friends. They'd be such good friends that they would probably speak similarly.
Thank you.
Ingrid's nails are really pretty.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, we know about Andrea's characters, but for the rest of you, would you be looking forward if all the characters you are playing were asked to sing for an episode? In an episode, all the characters you voice are asked to sing. Yeah.
And what would we sing like, or what? Sorry, what's the question?
Would you be looking forward to the day if you were asked to sing?
Are we looking forward to a day if we're asked to sing? That's the question?
Yeah.
Sure. I would love to hear how Zecora sounds, like what they would write for her. Sure. It hasn't come up yet, so, y'all tweet about it.
Come on!
The idea to decide Zecora has to do something. I don't know what we would do. It's so low.
It's always a challenge. Of course, any kind of a new challenge. It's like you take a character and let's do this with it now. Let's do that with it now. So it's always exciting to take it to another level, to try something else. I have no idea what they'd ask Cranky to sing. He'd probably be pretty cranky about it, though.
Death metal.
Iron Maiden, yeah.
Didn't Maud sing in the Hearthswarming episode? At the end? The very end?
It was all about rocks.
Didn't she?
It's all about.
How did you do that?
Just
It was
sing.
just not really very on key.
Should have been one note.
Was it Jingle bells.
Jingle bells.
Is that what I say?
Jingle all the way.
I don't know. I think Maud's more into poetry.
Yep. Rocks. They're rocks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zadok. So here's a fun question for all of you. If you were to spend like a day or a week with the characters you voiced from the show, what would
I've
you
heard
do?
this one before.
With them?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do with them?
Oh. If you're going to spend a week with your character, what would you do?
Bring him to a convention. I mean, what
I'd want to go see Fluttershy's Animal Sanctuary. I think that'd be pretty cool. Do some baking with Pinkie, but just a little bit. I don't know if I could do a week with her. Is that bad to say?
She would drive you nuts.
It is. For 10 minutes.
Well, I guess if I had to spend a week with Zecora in the forest somewhere, well, I hope I'd have a little bit of magic with me. I'm a little scared of the dark myself. So hope we'd have a few sprites and lights and things like that to help along the way. But I guess we'd have to go tromping through some forest and see what we
Everfree.
Make some potions.
Make some potions and potions.
Got plenty of woods here. You're down at Mount Rainier, so go for it.
I think I'd probably want to go with Limestone and Maud and Marble and possibly Pinkie if she wants to come to like a gem cave, like a really cool like rock cave, but with lots of like visible like gems and diamonds. Maybe a diamond mine.
Ooh.
Yeah, something like
An ethical one.
Yeah, exactly.
A blood diamond.
Or a gem shop. Maybe just stick with a gem shop. Yeah.
Brady might beat you to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brendan, and I have something for Andrea and Richard. Can I ask Richard to do his best Pinkie Pie impression? And
Oh, jeez.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can talk that fast. I can't even try, but I don't think I can.
Thank you. I don't think we'll be trading parts anytime soon.
No? Not enough bass?
Any actor will say, yeah, I can do that. You want me to be tall? I can do that. Sure, yeah. You want me to do a soprano? Okay, yeah, right. I'll work on it. I'll bring it back.
Hi, I'm Jason. I got a pretty easy one, I hope, for Andrea. My personal favorite episode still is Party 1 from Season 1.
Yeah, me too.
Really curious on your take of even just doing all the Pinkie voice for that. Personal thoughts and experience with that episode.
I was really nervous when we were recording that. I just didn't know how it was going to come off. To have to do all these different characters as Pinkie Pie was really tricky. And I remember feeling nervous in the room, which is something I don't feel very often, I guess. So yeah, I was just kind of like, ugh, and I just went for it. Like I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go for these things. And they liked it, and it was good. So I think that's kind of a really great rule for when you're in the room doing animation, is to just go big. Like, just push it, go exaggerate it, because they can always pull you back. They can always, okay, like, we don't need quite that much, but just go for it. So that's what I did, and they said, great, perfect, yeah. So,
And you nailed it.
Thank you.
Hi there. This is a question for Andrea. Does Pinkie Pie know Spanish?
Oh.
Hola?
Thank you.
Hola! Queso?
Chimichurri, gentleman who, this one it basically goes out for a friend of mine who unfortunately can't make it to Everfree. I talked to them on Skype for a question, and specifically he wants to ask you, and it must be channeling the inner Pinkie, but if she could have apprentices at Sugar Cube Corner, the place where Pinkie works, would she?
If she could have apprentices?
Yeah.
Sure, the more help the better.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello. Hey. So, my question's for all of you. Has there been another character that you've seen, like say on TV, or like say you're in the recording booth and you're hearing someone else's performance, and you just think to yourself, man, I could play that character. Why haven't I been casted as them?
Oh.
I think we all think that we can do anything, so, it's what's wonderful is to be in studio and to watch what other people are capable of, because you're always going to be surprised by somebody and what they choose to do, how they choose to read a line. So more than thinking, oh, I could do that, or I could do that better, it's more like, holy mackerel, look at the people I'm surrounded with and get to work with. It's really quite a treat.
Yeah, and actors, we're storytellers, so I could be watching TV and I think, oh, no, I'd love to be able to play that character. Hey, how come I didn't get an audition for that show? That's who got it.
I'm gonna kill him.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
But it also winds up being a lot, because casting quite often, especially when we're talking about film and television, if they've already got a 5'8" bald old guy, I ain't gonna get the other role. You know what I mean? So you often get cast. It's who's left, because we've already got a tall one and a short one and a blonde and a brunette.
That's the spirit. But very honest and true. Have any of you guys watched the show Dirk Gently's Holistic?
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Oh!
Uh-oh.
Wait for it. Hey!
Oh!
Mexican General. Awesome!
Next to the funeral.
I had an audition for the holistic assassin on that show. Yeah, who just kills everyone and just says that it's because she's holistic and intuitive and just can kill anyone, and it's right. So I kind of wish I got that role. But the person who plays it is great.
Mona Durif, yeah, marvelous.
Thank you. Hello. I was wondering when you decided that voice acting was going to be your career of choice, and how you found out about auditions that you could go to for any roles. I'm KB.
Hi, Katie. Can you say your question again?
Well, like, when did you decide that you wanted to become a voice actor, and how did you hear about auditions that you could go to for animated roles?
Start? Okay, my path is a little bit different because I started as a kid, which is a little bit unusual. So how I got into acting was my mom took me to an audition in the paper, and I didn't get the part, but I did get an interview to go see an agent. So an agent is the person that sends you out to your auditions. They're the ones that talk to the casting directors, and that's how they figure that out. So when I was a kid, I started getting sent to on-camera TV and film auditions, and I did some of that. And then he sent me to some voiceover auditions, and then I started doing Madeline and Dragon Tales and radio commercials and all those kinds of things. And how I decided that it was going to be my career is very strange. I just kind of kept doing it as the best side job of all time to put me through college, and I studied engineering. And was just doing kind of, a show here and there, and I wasn't super busy, but big breaks. And then right after I graduated, I booked a role on Strawberry Shortcake with Ingrid, and then shortly after that on My Little Pony, and I just decided to ride it out and see how long I could keep going. And I'm still here. And I don't think I remember much engineering, so.
Yeah, but you're smart. Just to have that. Oh.
It's good bragging, yeah.
Good bragging. Those courses you had to take.
I started out doing theater as a child, and I did a lot of theater productions, and then when I moved out here, it was mostly for film. I've been working in film from where I moved from Saskatchewan, if anyone's heard of that place. My mom is in the audience from Saskatchewan. She flew out today, by the way. Hi, Mom! So she, drove me to a lot of acting lessons as a kid, and then I moved out here to do film, and then I got disillusioned with film because they always have a blonde girl, So I was drawn to voiceover because I just felt that it was something that I could do, and I joke that I kind of had to bite my agent's ankle, like, "Ooh, let me do this, like, I think I can do it." And so when she finally sent me out for my first audition, it was Strawberry Shortcake, and it went for 4 seasons, so that was a lucky break, I guess.
I started acting in high school and then moved into theater school, and then film and TV was starting in BC, so that kind of pushed me into film and television. And under the umbrella of film and television, you also have commercial auditioning, and then you had voice auditioning, and there's also theater. So I was kind of doing a mix of everything, and I also started to teach as well and coach. And I guess when I didn't know what I was going to do differently from a live theater audition when it came to first auditioning for voice, other than it's what we do, except you're giving a piece of paper with a picture of a character on it, and then you have to figure out how the voice is going to sound. So first couple times you kind of don't really know what you're doing, and as Andrea said, it's best to just make a choice and go big, because if you come in and you give them nothing, it's harder for them to pull something out of you if you haven't made any kind of a choice. So I kind of learned, a few auditions that, oh, okay, that wasn't very good. And then, oh, I landed one and I'm narrating something, or oh, I landed a commercial for Ford or something, or whatever the campaign may be. When Zecora came along, it was quite the audition process because originally they wanted her to be Cajun, kind of French sounding, and I auditioned with girls that spoke fluent French, and I came in not knowing how to do a Cajun accent of any kind. I rehearsed and went, I can't do that. I'm just going to come in and give them what my background is. I'm half Jamaican, half Trinidadian. I'll give them a mishmash of that and maybe a little bit of African thrown in somewhere, and we'll see. And it morphed in the audition, and yeah, it was a collaborative affair with Terry. And instead of tightening up, like, am I making the right choice? Am I giving them? I'm not sure. They seemed to like what I was doing. They just kept asking me for more, and I was there for some time. And then gradually the character went from up here to gradually down here to gradually down here to gradually down here. And it got lower and lower and lower, which was completely different from some of the other ponies. And she was a zebra. And yeah, it was a really wonderful auditioning process by the end of it.
Like everybody here, you start out, I mean, basically we're actors. So we act on stage, we act on screen, we act with our voices, we act wherever we get the chance. In terms of voice acting, when the voice thing started in Vancouver, I just thought, oh, what a great idea. And I beat my head against that wall for about 3 years. And just about the time that I was thinking, no, this is not for me, I wound up getting a show, and I got 3 roles in the show, and it was 40 episodes that we recorded over 3 months. Which, yeah, truly. And it was like, then I was out of debt for the first time in my acting life. I had a car that I could trust to drive at night. And I thought, hey, this isn't half bad.
All right, we have just enough time for about 2 more questions. Let you know.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you very much. I'm just kidding. First of all, shout out to Dr. Wolf. Hey, what's up, Doc?
The doctor.
Hello there.
Now, you all voice, well, most of you voice ponies, but on the show, they also have a whole bunch of, like, monsters, like, mostly from Greek mythology. There's hydras, chimeras, dragons, obviously. And so my question is, of those kind of monsters, because some of them end up getting speaking roles, which one do you think you'd like to voice if you had your pick?
A phoenix. Yes. Flufflepuff.
Good
An old white guy.
You fit that part very well.
Yeah. Type casting.
I just don't know. There's in it. Something that roars and is fierce, I guess. Y'all want to help me out? What do you think I should play? What kind of monster would work?
Minotaur? Minotaur.
All right. Fierce, roars loudly.
Cat Minotaur.
Something corn.
Okay, there you go.
All right, awesome.
Thank
you very much. Thank you on X-Files, Miss Linden.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
On what? X-Files?
So the show has several different writers, but each character is voiced by just one voice actor. And the writing is episodic, so a lot of times the character development happens in spurts and isn't predictable, and sometimes lines will be thrown in specifically to cause conflict. Several of you have voiced your character for a long time and have built up probably a strong image of what they are. How do you deal with being asked to voice a line that you feel doesn't fit with the character?
We change it. And they let us. Yeah, it's just, we've been at it for so long now, and everyone's really supportive, like from production and the directors, and they'll say, you know your character the best. What do you think they're going to say? What do you think? And we can I'll get to a line and I'll say, no, Pinkie would never say this. But honestly, the writers are so good, it doesn't happen too often. But little tweaks here and there, they're fine with. So we have a little bit of freedom. We just change it.
And on that note, little tiny tweaks. my character rhymes. It's not the easiest character to perhaps write for, and sometimes it's not the easiest character to say, so that the sense also comes through and not just the rhyme. And sometimes within that, you know, da-dun, 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 sometimes something isn't quite da-dun, 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 or it's going da-dun, da-dun, da-dun too much. So sometimes a word is tweaked. But again, we do have really excellent writers, and it's a tweak, and it's a collaborative affair, just like what Andrea was saying, for sure.
Once in a while, you'll see a line that doesn't feel like it fits, and it can be just a stubbornness on the actor's part of not willing to kind of go outside the box you've created for yourself. So sometimes you have to actually go, okay, this is a line the writer has written for my character. What can I do in terms of understanding who I am to make this line make sense? So it's a balancing act.
Thanks for the panel.
Question.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your great questions. That was fun. Take a selfie with you.
Yes. Please do.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending today, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend here at Everfree Northwest 2018.
Real quick, guys, just to let you guys know, we do have a wonderful VIP event with these folks tonight. It's